You're listening to the Player Issue Podcast. Here's your host, Aaron Warwick.
Welcome back to all our regular listeners, and thank you very much for joining us to all you new folk out there. This is the Player Issue Podcast, and this is episode number 6. Not going to muck around too much. We're going to get straight into today's interview. We did something a little bit different. This is the first time that we've actually recorded through Skype, which is something that I've never actually used before, so bear with me if it doesn't sound particularly great in some spots. It is because the connections aren't great over Skype, as we'd love to do it in studio, but it is what it is, unfortunately. Not everybody does live in Western Australia, and they can't always get out over here to do their interviews in studio. So we've come up with a new way to do things, and Skype just happens to be the easiest and cheapest, namely free, way of getting across to all you guys and to share your collections with us. So something a little bit different, as I mentioned. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Hopefully it doesn't ruin the experience for you guys too much. I've listened to it twice myself, and I think it sounds alright. So if you share your feedback with me, so let me know how that went, and see if I can make any improvements if we need to on the Skype front. So that means if you guys are over east and you can't get to Western Australia to be in the studio, you now know that you certainly can be on the show to share your collections with everybody if you have a laptop and a pair of headphones and a microphone, and we can certainly get you on and listen to your story. Today's episode also just happens to be another first, as we have our very first guest from Victoria, and his collection is actually from a Victorian club as well. So not just some bloke that lives in Victoria but follows an interstate team. So I think all you Victorian mob are probably going to be happy to hear something from your state for a change. And hopefully you guys enjoy it as much as I enjoyed chatting to him. He was a little bit nervous at first, but I think he'd done a pretty good job by the end of it. After the episode, we're going to be sharing with you some of the notable sales that I found throughout eBay, Gumtree, and also the Facebook Marketplace, which I've seen some pretty damn good stuff this week. So there are some blokes out there that quite enjoyed that part of the episode last time when I shared all that with you. Namely Paul, who shared that with us on the comments on the Facebook page, on the Player Issue Podcast Facebook page. So yeah, if you have any comments or feedback, or you want something to be heard on the show, then yeah, let us know on the page, and I'll certainly do my best to get it across to you guys on each episode. So after today's interview, I'm going to be doing that with you guys. I'll share some notable stuff and also what I've got in my collection coming up, or have just added to my collection. There's been just a little bit of movement this week, so I'll share that with you guys straight after the interview. So here's our interview today with Matt Tenace. Hi Matt, how are you, mate?
Good, thanks, Aaron. How are you, mate?
I am fantastic. You are our first Victorian guest. How does it feel?
Woohoo! Thank you. It really is an honour, and it's very good to be the inaugural Skype guest. Yeah, no, but seriously, thank you for having me.
No, that's awesome, man. We're really, really happy for you to be on, and we're excited to be here from a Victorian guest, and one that his collection's only just kicked off from what I can tell, but it already is looking pretty impressive. Whereabouts do you reside right now? As we mentioned, that we are doing this on Skype, so whereabouts are you in the world right now?
I am, as you mentioned, I'm in Victoria, Melbourne, Victoria, sunny northern suburbs. Just currently in my room and got it all set up, ready to go.
Beautiful. I can see who you support, but for those that can't see you, who do you support?
Drum roll. I'm an Essendon supporter. I'm an Essendon man.
Beautiful. So you'd be a happy bloke at the moment, eh?
Not at all. I'm a very, very flat and just miserable Essendon supporter at the moment, considering what happened the weekend. Props to Port Adelaide, and I'm sure there's a lot of Port Adelaide supporters out there listening. So.
There certainly is. So yeah, you wouldn't go too deep into those because they might rip into you. So be careful.
That's exactly right. Yeah, full credit to them. Can't say anything bad.
No, but you blokes are definitely having a good run in the second half of the year. So it's actually really good to see and good to watch.
Yeah, it is. It is exciting. Like 6 wins in a row. Sorry, 5 or 6. I don't even know. Oh my god. But yeah, it's just been. We haven't had that in years, and it's just good to see. There've been some pretty ugly wins, but you know, as an Essendon supporter, it is exciting to see a bit of consistency.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. A win's a win, really. 4 points is 4 points, and you get up in the finals. That's all that really matters.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So
anything can happen. We've seen what happened to the Bulldogs in 2016, so you never know, dude.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That was amazing. Yeah, I guess, ugly wins, but it does get the confidence up a little bit. but we just got to wait and see like everyone else.
All right. When did you start collecting, and what was the very first jumper that you got?
Yeah, interesting question because I started collecting. Yeah, I started collecting retail Guernseys in 2015. Yeah, I wasn't as active as I am now. I just kind of every now and then would get a Guernsey that I didn't have and just try to get one from every year in the AFL era, so from 1990 to present. But yeah, I kind of made the switch to player-issued Guernseys last year, early to mid last year. To answer your question, my first player-issued Guernsey was the 2017 Michael Hartley Guernsey. Got that from a gentleman in Croydon off Gumtree for $100, and I wasn't really looking at getting player-issued Guernsey, but I just came across that, and I am a fan of Michael Hartley, so I just thought it'd be just a really cool novelty thing to own, I guess. I guess just to compare that to retail ones, because I've never really seen them until my first player-issued Guernsey, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so that's interesting you say that, because you know a lot of people do obviously buy your retails every year, and you got to update your collection every single year. So you're out in the field and you're looking good and looking sharp, and you're following the team. But you do find that as soon as you see a player issue jumper or get your hands on one, you do notice a massive difference. And I think that's where that real connection, that desire to have those things actually comes from, was when you first actually get your hands on one.
No, that's exactly right. And at the time, I actually had a 2017 retail. So I guess as soon as I got home, I just, I just compared the two, and it amazed me how different they are.
Mm-hmm.
As boring as that sounds, but yeah, I was really, really intrigued by how different they are. Just to see them both side by side, and just so many differences.
No, you're dead straight there. How many jumpers now do you have in your collection now that you've really got kicked off?
You put me on the spot here. I'm a bit unprepared because I probably should have counted them, but at the moment I reckon I'm sitting on about 28 to 29 Guernseys.
Yep.
Which is not as many as all the collections you see out there on the Facebook groups and and to people you've spoken to on the pod. But yeah, as you said, I've just started, so not too many, but onwards and upwards.
Well, you've heard Lynchy's episode, I'm assuming, and he's only got 40 odd, I think he mentioned, and he's been collecting for a while, and he's one of those well-known collectors in the game. So, 20 odd jumpers that you have, it's not a bad start, man. Especially did you only start this year?
No, last year. So yeah, I went a bit crazy last year. No, you're right. Like, to compare it to what I had last year to this year, it definitely is a lot of Guernseys. But overall, you just compare yourselves to, like yourself. You mentioned you had 300 Guernseys at one point. It's just absolutely colossal, and you just that's what I strive to be, I guess.
Yeah, I think I was. Someone said to me that they had 300 jumpers in their collection at one point back in the early 90s, which I couldn't believe that. I didn't even know it was possible to have that many back in those days. It'd be a lot harder to get a hold of. And ever since I heard that, I was like, all right, cool. That's the number I got to strive for and hit. So, yeah, I went extremely crazy to hit my 300. And after that, I was like, damn, why the hell did I get so many? And why did I just go crazy? Yeah. Some of them I got, I was just like, why the hell do I have this? Like, this means nothing to anybody.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. But that's the passion of collecting, I guess. It
is. So you guys, being the Bombers, have had some seriously good players come through your club. Which are some of the best players, jumpers that you have in your collection? Not necessarily your best jumpers, but the best players that you own.
Okay, so going off quality of players, well, incidentally, it is one of my favourite players. One of my favourite Guernseys.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually got a Michael Long match-worn Guernsey from the centenary reenactment game from 1996.
Damn, that's a serious jumper.
Yeah, no, it took me a long time to get that one, and it really is a pleasure to have that, and an honour, really. Just being such a legend of the club, and you just don't see Michael Long Guernseys, and a lot of the big players at Essendon, you just don't see too many of their Guernseys. So it really is, I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, that one's awesome.
Yeah, my most recent addition, it's not a match worn, but it's a James Hird Anzac Day long sleeve Guernsey from the 2005 Clash.
Yep.
Yeah, and just growing up, James Hird was one of my favourite players. My favourite being Matthew Lloyd for other reasons, but yeah, it's such a proud feeling to just find those Guernseys and have the opportunity to, I guess, add them to your collection. Yeah, they're just legends of the club.
Yeah, man, 100%. That I did see that jumper on your page. If you want to share your page with everybody, what is your page called?
Yeah, so I just started a page about 2 weeks ago. It is called Essendon FC Guernsey Collection. You can't really miss it on Facebook. It's the only one out there. But yeah, that's my page, and very excited about it. And
Yeah, I like it, dude.
Yeah, thank you. I've been getting a lot of good feedback about it, and like I'm really happy because it's something I've been wanting to do for such a long time. And yeah, it has gained a bit of traction, so it's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to what I can do with it.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do with a page like that. I mean, I've got my AFL Guernsey collection page, I think it's called, and it's amazing how many people will contact you with jumpers that they have that you might be interested in, or even just getting a general chit chat going about jumpers. And yeah, it's awesome to have as a guide for yourself, and also just something that you might be able to pick up some cheeky jumpers through. So having one of them is certainly an incredible thing to have, and it helps a lot.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I just find, like, the main reason I wanted to do it is just because I've got all these Guernseys, and like I've got really no one to share them with. My mates, I love footy, but not really into the Guernsey collecting scheme of things.
Yeah,
my family think I'm just the biggest weirdo out there just for doing it. They're like, why do you collect worn Guernseys and worn shorts? It's just, don't they stink? And
it's so you could get on the podcast, right?
Yeah, no, exactly right.
Well-winning podcast here.
That's exactly right. But yeah, it's something I've always wanted to do, and it's a way, I guess, to catalogue Guernseys you own and you've given away as well. Just
yes,
keep a record of them.
That's right. I was going to mention that is a real good way of cataloguing. I mean, I've catalogued all my jumpers in my phone. I've made albums and things like that, so I've got that as well as my page where I catalogue them all as well. It's just something that you can keep track of all jumpers you have. I mean, sometimes I get a little bit confused about some whether or not I still have them, which is a little bit ridiculous when you get to that point. But yeah. No, it's a real good way of cataloguing everything. So even if it's just for yourself, it's really good. But yeah, you do find that you'll get a lot of people will start contacting you through the page, and yeah, just finding feedback is just real cool, man. The days of mental health issues and things like that.
Yeah.
When you get people commenting and saying, "Oh, I really like this, I love this, and well done, congratulations," it just brightens your day a little bit sometimes,
It really does. It really is a good feeling. And that's another thing I was going to mention. The actual main reason I wanted to start it was to get, I guess, a community going and just to connect with people who have the mutual interest of collecting Essendon Guernseys. And I've already had this, for example, I've had one guy contact me, and he's got a Chris Heffernan player issued 2000 grand final Guernsey, which you don't see 2000 grand final Guernseys. They're just that rare.
Yeah.
So that was absolutely amazing. And yeah, like you said, just getting feedback from people, share the love and passion for it. It's really rewarding.
Yeah, and it's cool when people come out of the woodwork, so you don't know that these people have these jumpers, or you've never seen these jumpers, and all of a sudden people showing you what they've got in their collection that may usually be hidden and no other reason to show it. And then, they bring it out for you to look at. It's just really cool to see sometimes, even though you want to say, "Oh, you give me the jumper," but
That's exactly right. But yeah, it really excites me to see what people have out there, and especially the stories behind them.
So your mob has been through, in the last few years in particular, quite a number of different designs, especially, your Anzac and your Dreamtime. But then you had like a seatbelt design, which was different.
Yeah, it was, but yeah.
Which ones do you have out of all the different designs?
So the one-off kind of designs.
Yeah.
They're the ones I actually like to collect and probably I prioritize. So yeah, I've got a couple Anzac Day Guernseys from different years. I've got a couple Dreamtimes. I've got the seatbelt Guernsey. Last year we wore a kind of a one-off heritage Guernsey. I don't know if you remember. It had a collar on it, and basically it was paying tribute to Ken Fraser.
Yes.
So it had a thinner sash, and it was just made to look like what the Guernseys looked like on black and white TV.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've got one of them, which weren't actually released to the public or auctioned off, so I'm really stoked to have that. And
nice. How'd you get your hands on that one?
Well, I like to hold my cards close to my chest, but I did actually contact a past player.
Yeah, nice.
Last year.
Yep.
And yeah, he was so nice and more than happy to move it on for me for obviously a bit of cash, but yeah,
Yeah.
really happy to get that. And yeah, like I said, the centenary reenactment, the grand final Guernsey I've got, yeah, there's just so much more to go. We're just one of those clubs who just love a one-off Guernsey for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the 90s and even the early 2000s, it never really changed. It was always just your basic, simple home sash jumper. And it's just changed, I guess, because of, the marketing and things like that. But yeah, just such a big difference nowadays in the last 5 or 6 years, even with all these different designs. But
Yeah,
hey, it's good for us collectors.
No, that's exactly right. I love them. And yeah, even with Essendon, I guess Essendon, Collingwood, Richmond all started out with the Anzac Guernseys, the Dreamtime Guernseys, and now, yeah, it's good to see every other club kind of getting on board with their own unique designs. It's not just limited to a couple clubs, so that's pretty cool for someone like yourself, a Fremantle supporter. So I guess it gives you a bit of variation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually hell keen for the retro round jumper that we are wearing against your mob in 2 weeks' time.
That looks absolutely amazing.
Yes, I'm very keen to get my hands on a player's one, that's for sure.
Oh, definitely. And I see you Monday, if I'm not...
Of course, yeah. My tax return's coming back in a couple of days, so that'll be going aside purely for that reason.
Beautiful. That's what it's there for.
Exactly. Well, that's what I say it's for. The missus might not say that, but...
The Monday funding campaign.
That's right, yep. What's the oldest jumper you have in your collection?
The oldest I've got is a David Culthorpe player issued Guernsey. It's a long sleeve one. It's from 1994 and 95.
Yep.
So we had the same Guernseys for those 2 seasons, so I can't identify which season it's from.
Yep.
That is the oldest I've got. And that's only because I only collect AFL era.
Yes.
I don't collect any VFL, but yeah, that's the oldest.
What's your reason for that?
I guess it's hard enough to really identify and determine player issues from the 90s, and I'm still, I've spent 2 years really researching, reading up on stuff, watching vision, matching photos, and there's just that much inconsistency in the 90s with the Guernseys that I'm still really trying to confirm everything. So yeah, determining VFL jumpers is just a whole other mission. It's something I want to take up in the future, but I'm focused on the 90s. Eventually slowly transition to previous years. Yeah,
no, that's fair enough, because I know if Freo were back in the 80s, I think just the amount of research you got to do, and those sort of things, you probably would want to see over those type of things just to make it easy for you. But yeah, it does take a lot of research just for the late 90s jumpers, but something back in those days where paperwork really didn't exist half the time, it'd just be too damn hard. You'd have to get a hold of ex-players to really try and help you, but that's not as easy sometimes. So.
Oh, exactly right. And the further you go back, the less real resources you have to succeed in that.
Yeah, you're right.
It's just so difficult with VFL jumpers.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I actually don't have many. No, I actually don't have any pre 97. So, as much as I'd love to have a few earlier than that, it's just too hard. Also, very expensive.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
So, where do you store all your jumpers?
Good question. Just hanging up in my closet at the moment. I guess thinking of different and unique ways I can store them, just because I do have a bulk of them now. It's just getting a bit too much for my closet.
Yep.
But yeah, just at the moment, just the general hanging them up in the closet. I know a lot of people resort to using those suit bags or the plastic covers, but
yes,
yeah, I don't really bother with that. I might in the future. Not to say there's anything wrong with that, but yeah, it's just I like to save my money for Guernseys. Yeah, just hanging up in the cupboard.
Yeah. I think we all started there. I definitely started there as well. Actually, didn't even get to hang them up. Mine were all kind of just folded up and put at the bottom of the cupboard. But yeah, I eventually moved into hanging them as much as I could, but I only had a tiny little closet. So it moved into a spare room, which I'm very lucky to have. But yeah, not everyone has that option, unfortunately. Do you have any jumpers that are framed already?
No, I don't. I've brought 2 framed Guernseys. I'm not really for framed Guernseys at this point in time. So I should take them out. But yeah, to answer your question, no, I don't have any framed Guernseys.
So, and you prefer them unframed anyway?
Yeah, I prefer them unframed. I'd rather like when they're framed, they're kind of restricted, obviously. For example, actually, my grand final Guernsey was framed,
Yep.
and when I was looking at it on an eBay auction, I zoomed in and I could tell there's a number at the back, but obviously it's framed, so you can't.
Yep.
You don't know what number's on the back.
Mm-hmm. And the
So,
person never knows.
Yeah, exactly right. They're people who have a lot of money and I guess just make spontaneous decisions to win an auction. Yeah, I take them out of frames. I prefer to just, I guess, hold them and put them on a mannequin, take a photo every now and then, or even if I just do a photo of my whole collection.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of framed Guernseys.
Yeah, cool. I think I mentioned in the first episode, I believe, about the Peter Bell North Melbourne jump that I had framed. And I mentioned that I was very keen on one day unframing it. Yeah, well, that happened last night. So I was sitting there. Yeah.
Wow.
I was just sitting there looking at it on the wall and thought, yep, now's the time. Because I was wondering what was on the front of that, whether there was a grand final logo or something. I was like, yeah, no, I need to know. I need to find out. So I absolutely destroyed the frame, so I definitely will never go back in there. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked to have it out, and I put up photos of it on my page now, and it actually looks really nice. So yeah, no, I much prefer having it out of the frame.
Yeah, and again, it's subjective. It's completely up to the owner, really. But
yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah,
I pull them out of the frames. It's a big task, but I can't live with myself just seeing a Guernsey frames. I've got to know what's on the back or on the front.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there for sure. Do you prefer your jumpers to come signed or unsigned?
Good question. It doesn't really bother me. I've got a mixture of both. I don't really value Guernseys based on signatures. I know a lot of people do. To me, look, I'd rather them plain, just because that's how they appear and that's how they're worn. They're not worn signed, obviously.
Yeah.
I guess, people out there like to get them signed to frame them, or if they have a personalised message or something. But I personally prefer mine unsigned, but it doesn't bother me.
So some of those better players, will you try and actively seek them out to try and get one of those signed, maybe, or just want to keep it as is?
It really depends. I wouldn't really touch those Guernseys, even though the grand final Guernsey and the centenary reenactment Guernsey are actually signed. So I don't have much choice, but I guess I'd only really actively go out and get a Guernsey signed if it was, say, one of my favourite players growing up or one of my favourite players currently. Saying that, Mick Hurley's my favourite player. I've got a few of his Guernseys, and I've thought about it, but yeah, I just can't really bring myself to do it at the moment. I think I'd only really do it if I was determined to get them framed.
No, that's all right. That's a fair reason. I actually quite enjoy getting some of them signed, especially if it's the same player, purely because you can kind of create a rapport with them. So if I was going to Mick Hurley, for instance, if I was going to him every few weeks, or maybe give him a little bit more of a break than that, but taking 3 or 4 jumpers to him, you can kind of become, oh, this is this guy again. Yeah, no worries. And you kind of become friends out of it a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool. No, that is a really good point. But I guess I've done it before where I've just had a retail sign. I'm just one of those people who like to let the players be.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yep.
Even when I go to the Essendon, the Hangar, sorry, I've seen a couple players, and I prefer to let them be. It's just my type of personality. So, yeah, like I said, I'd only really get a Guernsey signed or get a photo with a player. Yeah, they were one of my favourites or favourite.
Yeah, I don't like chasing people down either. I'll go stand somewhere, and if they come to me, then I'll get them to sign something. But yeah, I'm the same. I can't run up to someone and try and chase them down, because half time you can tell they're trying to get away from you anyway. Yeah, so you don't want to be that guy that they're going to hate for the rest of your life anyway.
Exactly right. It's just you can tell. Yeah, some players just want to be left alone, and I guess you're kind of making them uncomfortable if you want to go up to them. But, and I feel like such a fangirl when I do it as well. I get so nervous, and it's just not my cup of tea. I don't have the personality to do it. Maybe I'll get the missus to go down and do it for me or something.
Oh, yeah, I've done that a few times as well.
Oh, really?
And Nate Fife is not the easiest bloke in the world to meet if you're a male, so you've got to send one of the females.
Oh, fair dinkum.
Fair dinkum, yep. I've attempted to meet him a few times and have had no luck whatsoever, but yeah, the missus he was quite happy to sign for, so thank you, Emma.
Thank you, Emma.
So you blokes have had a fair few different jumper manufacturers across the last, I'll say, the last 19 years, namely like Adidas, ISC, Reebok, Fila, Puma, just off the top of my head. I'm sure you've got a few of those player issued. Which one would be your favorite manufacturer?
Great question. I really rate that question. Sorry. Yeah, my favorite is ISC, our current manufacturer, for a
Nice.
lot of reasons. I guess when we had Adidas, it was actually a really exciting time to have Adidas come on board because it was such a big brand.
Yep.
But in my opinion, they just completely ruined our identity. Really, like they never really made a good Guernsey. There was just always something wrong with it every year, and especially the fact that they made the sash straight just really irked me. And I know it irked a lot of fans. But yeah, as soon as ISC came in 2017, they just went back to the tradition. And yeah, ever since I picked up the player issued Guernseys, they're so neat and so clean, and I just can't explain it, but I love them. I love ISC.
Sorry, mate. That's a really, really great answer because there are a lot of people out there who really hate ISC, and it may be because they came from what they believe to be a better manufacturer previously. But when you really get down to it and you really feel the differences they make from the other manufacturers, they do make a quality jumper. And they may tear into a piece of paper, but they are damn good to look at and real nice feel.
Oh yeah, and they're just so unique to different manufacturers, mainly because of their material. They just got this shine to it, and you can tell there's so much better quality than say Adidas or we had Puma. Actually, I like Puma, so I won't compare them to them. I like Fila. They're just the quality on the ISCs are just amazing, in my opinion.
Yep, I've actually got a McDonald Tip and Woody Dreamtime jumper right behind me purely for this interview. So Matt had something real nice to look at. And yeah, it's beautiful, man. I absolutely love it. And the reds really pop. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Yep. Especially this design. It's actually this year's Dreamtime jumper. It's beautiful. Yeah, I love it.
That design. That's probably one of my favorites. Or my second favorite.
Oh yeah? Go on, hit me with your first favorite then.
The first favorite, the favorite was the one we wore in 2016, incidentally manufactured by Adidas. But that design was the one designed by Gavin Wanganeen.
Yep.
And it was a home Guernsey, so the classic black Guernsey with the red sash, but the sash had Indigenous-inspired dot art. Sorry, I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, and it had a pink outline, and it was just, everything on that jumper was really well done. Everything to the design, to the placement of the sponsors, it was just, a really appealing design.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. It's good to hear what your favourite design out of that is. That's really cool. Actually, what is your favourite design overall of the Essendon jumper? Put you on the spot completely there.
Definitely. So I assume you mean apart from the classic away clash, everything.
Hey, if you want to pick that, then that's your prerogative.
Well, you can't go past the traditional home Guernsey, but I won't be a coward. I'll challenge myself. I can't go past, as I mentioned before, that Ken Fraser Heritage Guernsey we wore last year. It was just, I loved it. I love a collar. I just love a collar. And bring it back more often, as in not just Essendon. I think the AFL should bring back a collar every now and then. Yeah,
I actually really like Geelong's one from last year as well. I've got Tim Kelly's in that, and it's a really, really cool design, and I didn't think I'd like the collars. Sorry?
The retro round one they had?
Yes, it's a retro round, yes. And yeah, I wasn't a big fan of collars, or didn't think I was a big fan of collars until I saw that jumper and I had it in my hands and thought, this is really cool. I like this. And yeah, seeing the one that you're talking about, the Bombers retro jumper, actually, or heritage design jumper, yeah, I agree with you. They should definitely bring it back. And wouldn't even mind seeing the retro round Freo one with a collar would look really cool, but I think it would have to be more green.
No, I think, that Freo one's just perfect. I wouldn't change that. But yeah, I'd love to see like a heritage round or something back because I really take the collars for granted. I really miss them. Yeah, I do love a good heritage round jumper as well. I've got a few. So the most unique jumper that you have in your collection, would you say that was the repro jump? What do you call it? The 96. Oh, the centenary reenactment. The centenary reenactment. That's the one. Would you say that centenary reenact jump? Freaking hell. Would you say the centenary reenactment jumper that you have would be your most unique design jumper? In terms of design, yeah, it would be. Yeah, definitely. It was just obviously it was worn once by not even like only I think from memory six or eight clubs wore that out of the 14 that were there, 14, 15. I know Fremantle were there at the time.
Yep.
Yeah, so all the interstate clubs didn't wear it. But yeah, it's just its uniqueness I absolutely love, and yeah, that definitely is the most unique design in my collection.
Yeah, sweet. Now, it's only what you would say a fairly small collection, but certainly on its way. What would you value it at?
Oh, jeez, good question. You really hit me with some good questions.
I like putting people on the spot.
But before I get into the value, it's kind of hard because I've been very lucky to have had some good deals come my way.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people donate some Guernseys
Nice.
just out of the goodness of their heart, which is, yeah, just really, really generous. So the total value, it'd definitely be in the thousands. I don't know if it'd be in the 10,000s, considering it's not actually that large. But yeah, I've got a real mixture of just a few rare Guernseys that would be very sought after, and I've just got your general stuff. So probably about 5,000, 6,000, just going off, I guess, not retail price, but what everyone else is selling for.
Yeah, actually, Clint brought up in the last episode, he kind of went off retail value as well, but I don't see a problem with rating it as a retail value, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the most accurate, I guess. Like, if I went off what I paid, it'd probably be a bit less, or possibly could be a bit more, but yeah, just going off, I guess, the average prices of the modern day Guernseys and I guess the high prices of the older Guernseys, yeah, it'd probably be around 6,000.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. It's a good number. Certainly wouldn't argue with that. So, I've already asked you your most unique. However, this may be a tough question to answer, but I reckon you probably know the answer. What is your number one jumper in your collection?
I don't want to repeat Guernseys I've already mentioned, so I'll exclude those. Number one jumper.
Your absolute favourite. You would never get rid of it, couldn't part with it.
Yeah, so excluding the ones I've already mentioned, one that comes to mind is that I've got a Joe Watson player issued Guernsey from 2013. That's a really special Guernsey to me, just because, yeah, Joe Watson meant a lot to me as a fan and us as a club.
Mm-hmm.
And especially from that era, that was, or that season, the 2013 season was obviously dark times, but it also made for some special moments. So I really hold value to that. Oh, you stumped me, mate.
That's what I strive to do.
I don't remember what I've got anymore. Yeah, now that you put me on the spot, it's like my memories erased. I've got a fair few centenary Guernseys.
Nice.
Which I won't identify which players because I'm actually going to be posting them up on my page soon. So yeah, I don't want to reveal them yet. But
okay, yeah, go. No exclusive for the podcast.
Yes, exclusive for all the members out there. Yeah, the centenary Guernseys are really the reason why I got into collecting and what really the Guernseys I've strived to acquire.
Yep.
Just because of their uniqueness.
Incredibly, yes.
So I really hold value to them, and they're really special to me. But yeah, other than that, I've got a few Guernseys. Like, obviously, I wouldn't really sell any of my collection if I'm being quite honest. But yeah, they all hold a special piece of my heart, and
it's getting soppy up here.
Yeah, to get the tissues. But yeah, the Joe Watson is a very special Guernsey and something I was very excited to get a hold of late last year.
Very nice, man. Very nice. Actually, you mentioned your centenary jumpers, and I was running through Marketplace earlier this afternoon, and I actually changed it to Melbourne because that's what I do. I look everywhere. It doesn't have to be in WA. Yeah, sorry, I've told a few people, but you actually had a jumper on there I actually found. I was actually running through just having a look, see what I could find, and I saw an Essence Centenary jumper. Yeah, it was only retail, but I noticed your name popped up on it. Do you still have that?
Yeah, I actually completely forgot about that. I haven't had a lot of success selling it.
That's incredible.
I do still have that. That's just a retail, obviously.
I mean, you had that up for $150 on Marketplace, is that right?
Yeah, I put it up for 150, and I've actually completely forgotten about it, so I'll probably have to drop the price a bit or see what I can do with that. But yeah, that's up there. Yep.
We'll have a Player Issue podcast members price. How about that?
Oh yeah, if you want a good deal, just get in contact with my page and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, man. If I ever saw a 96 Fremantle, a centenary jumper, I wouldn't care what the price was on it, to be honest with you, because it's such a rare thing. I couldn't
Yeah,
believe when I saw it that it had been there for that long. I was like, you are kidding me. How is this still here?
yeah. Or maybe, as you said before, maybe people don't want to pay the price that I've valued it at. I've clearly gone overboard with the price there.
Oh, mate.
But
I disagree with you, Rick. $150 is bloody cheap in my eyes. But yeah, if you want a cheap centenary jumper from the Bombers, definitely hit Matt up for that one because it's a bit of a ripper, that one.
yeah, I'll look after you if you mention the podcast.
Definitely throw the name out there and he'll give you a discount.
Yeah, it dropped code Aaron10 for 10% off.
I like it. I'm going to have to use that one, actually. I'll have to bring that up in future episodes. Aaron10. No, I'm not going to use Aaron. That's a girl's name, so we're not going to use that. You mentioned that you haven't. I don't know if you mentioned it when we're having a chat or if you mentioned it when we started the show, but you mentioned that you haven't bought any jumpers through the auctions, which really surprised me because I mean I know Essendon aren't extremely active in the Bombers auctions at all. It's actually I've noticed it a little bit this year, but in previous years I've barely seen it at all. Where do you get your jumpers from then, if that's the case?
Magician never reveals his secrets. The one thing I will say is it does take a lot of effort, and you've really got to put effort in, especially for ones that you're after. You've just got to do the hard yards and not give up. That's my piece of advice. But yeah, no, it is surprising as well. I actually find it quite embarrassing that I still haven't won one on an auction. You know, especially because I am a very passionate collector, and I've got a bit of a collection going, but yeah, I just haven't had luck. And yeah, only really up until this year, from my knowledge, Essendon was selling player-issued spares at the Bomber Shop, which is really unheard of until this year, as mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, only up until the past few years, they only really used to auction off Anzac Day Guernseys and Dreamtime Guernseys from memory, and just the occasional one-off promotional Guernsey. But yeah, now it's just everything that we wear that's not Clash or that's not home Guernsey, they'll actually auction off. But yeah, as I said, I've just had no luck. Been very stiff.
What's the auctions like? Are you missing out on, and because it's gone a bit much for you, or is it they have an odd way of ending it, or what is it? Because I know Freo, they have a 5-minute overtime. If you bid on it within 5 minutes, it'll keep going overtime.
Oh, that's interesting. No, the reason being, it's simply just because, not that I forget about it, but yeah, I'll put a bid down and I will just forget to check, and then by the time I remember, that's been the case a couple times, and other times I've just missed out simply because I couldn't afford to go up anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can get really expensive, as collectors out there will know. But yeah, like most recently, what was the most recent auction? Oh no, sorry, the Challenge Guernseys, but the Clash for Cancer Guernseys we wore.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, had a crack at that, but just completely forgot to get back to it. And that was because that was on an external site too. That wasn't on.
Oh, okay.
Auctions. That was actually through Challenge, so I didn't get any notifications or anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's annoying, eh? I hate those external ones that, you know, if you're not told about it, sometimes you just forget, and it sucks when you find out you've missed out on something you may have really wanted or even could have just gone back and had another crack at it if you knew about it. But if they don't tell you, then yeah, they're missing out themselves as well. But yeah, they're killing us collectors, unfortunately.
Oh, it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
So as we're winding it down, just got a couple more questions for you.
Yep.
What jumper don't you have yet that you would like to get your hands on?
Well, there's a few out there. Yeah, there's definitely a lot. Oh, not a few, there's a lot. But yeah, to narrow it down, like I said, the centenary Guernseys were the main reason I started collecting and doing all this research and stuff. So I would love to own a long-sleeved centenary reenactment, which are unheard of. I'm
assuming Jimmy Hurd wore one that day?
He did, and he was one of 4 players from memory. I think Mark Harvey, Mark Mercury, someone else. I can't remember. But yeah, there's very, very limited, obviously. and it's something probably only the ex-players would have. But yeah, I'd absolutely love to add one of those to my collection.
Beautiful.
Sorry, and as well as the like the Knickerbockers and the caps they wore on that day. Sorry, that
Oh,
night,
yeah.
I should say.
Yeah.
Something a bit different.
That was certainly very different, yeah. I've got one last question for you. Other than Australian Football League, do you collect anything else?
At the moment, no. Guernsey's just taken over my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, previously I used to collect a lot of the old Nintendo games. For example, like the NES games, the Super Nintendo games, the Nintendo 64 games, as well as all the accessories and boxes and stuff like that. Don't know if you're too knowledgeable with that stuff.
Yeah, man, they could go for a serious amount of money.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. That is an expensive hobby.
It's insane that people will pay a serious amount of money just for a box that's got nothing in it, just the box.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I was actually lucky enough to find an old Nintendo box on the side of the street during hard rubbish in my town, and yeah, that was amazing. But so anyway, collected Nintendo stuff. I like to collect vinyl. I've been collecting vinyl records for about 9 years now, since I was a little tacker.
Nice. Certainly made a massive comeback, hasn't it, vinyl?
Oh, for sure. When I started, it was almost unheard of. Like, not unheard of, but yeah, it was really dead. So I really had to go above and beyond to try and find some stuff I wanted. But yeah, it's gained popularity big time.
Yeah, I work in a retail store, quite a large retail store, and we stock vinyls in our store. And in the last 3-4 years, they've just been going off, and it's definitely our largest genre in our store for any sort of software media. So yeah, it's gaining traction again. It's cool to see, and it's actually the youngsters that are actually buying them more often than not. You'd see the young people come in just in groups and waves, just grabbing more, like all these vinyls, just to shove in their collection. They don't even necessarily listen to them, but they've got a collection of them, which is incredible.
Yeah, no, and that's how I started off. I just brought a couple, and I thought they were just really cool to have the album art in such a bigger size compared to a CD. So I really used them as a display, and then I ended up buying myself a turntable when I was about 15, 16, and yeah, it took off from there, and I absolutely love it. But I've lost interest in that lately, just because I've been loving my Guernseys, and I guess with the popularity of the vinyl collecting comes, it just makes it so much harder. So yeah, slow down a bit on that. But yeah, other things, I've also used to collect Mad magazines. I was a big fan of the Mad magazines as a kid.
Yeah, right. I completely forgot about those, eh?
Yeah, exactly right. And sadly, I don't know what happened, but they basically stopped printing now. That was a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I completely forgot I had a collection until that happened. So it was just good to open the old boxes, have a flick through. Yeah, have a fair few Mad magazines from the 60s, 70s, 80s. That's what I like to collect.
That'd be worth some money then.
Oh, I think that. I don't look too much into the value, but I just used to always go to op shops every now and then and just pick up a Mad magazine or 3 for about 50 cents a piece. So
nice.
That was a cheap little way to collect things. Which
could be a good way to fund the old Guernsey collection later on as well.
Oh, that's a great point, because I have a lot of double up issues that I really need to get out of the garage. So they just take up that much space. It's not funny.
All right, I'll leave it with one more. The Bombers are going well. How far do you think they can go this year?
Look, history suggests I shouldn't be very confident. We sadly have the longest running streak without winning a final in it's been 15 years now. But yeah, like up until last weekend, we had won the past 5 to 6 games, which, like you said, it's good to win. But honestly, I'm not that confident. I'd just be really satisfied. Just as sad as it sounds, I'd just love to end that streak and win a final. I hope the boys can get up and do it, but we need a lot to go right for the remaining of the season.
Yeah, I'm sitting in the same boat, but we need a hell of a lot to go right at Freo. But all right, well, yeah, we'll leave it with that. So thank you, Matt, for joining us. It was a good 50-odd minute chat. So it flies by on the old Player Issue podcast. But I want to thank you for joining me here tonight. It took a little bit to get us going, and you've been my very first Skype interview. So I hope we haven't destroyed it, but I'm sure everyone will enjoy it, whether or not it sounds like shit. So thank you very much for joining me, Matt. Hope you enjoyed yourself.
My pleasure. My pleasure, and thank you so much for having me. And I wish yourself and everyone at the pod continued success, because it certainly is a very innovative idea, and I think it's really going to benefit the Guernsey collecting community.
I really appreciate it. We really enjoy hearing all the feedback that everyone gives us as well, and you're certainly one of those that made us feel real good about doing the show. So we appreciate not just your feedback, but having you on as well as a guest. So that's what we kind of want to get everybody out there. If you've got a collection and you're sharing your feedback with us, then getting everyone on here to share your story and your collection is kind of where we want to go with it. So yeah, we're here for the little guy.
That's exactly right, and yeah, it's only going to take off, mate. So good luck with that. Thank you very much for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
So there you go. That is our very first ever interview with a Victorian guest over Skype. We hope that the Skype held up and was okay for you guys as far as the sound quality goes, and the interview lived up to expectations for any Victorian fans, and particularly any Essendon Bombers fans. I don't yet have any other interviews lined up, so if you guys are wanting to be on the show, and if you're over east, if you have Skype, or you're able to get Skype, and if you have a decent microphone, it'd be handy. But even if you have just a simple pair of earphones with a microphone on it, we can work with that. But if you do have Skype with a good mic, and you would like to share your collection with all of our followers and listeners, please don't hesitate to send me a message at Player Issue Podcast on Facebook, and we'll see if we can get you on as the next guest for the next show, episode 7. Moving along at a pretty steady rate at the moment, and we're thoroughly enjoying bringing it to you every couple of weeks. We're probably going to stick to every couple of weeks as the format. It seems to be about the right amount of time for myself as far as research goes, and for you guys not trying to overload you too much with too much information. And one episode every couple of weeks really feels about the right number, to be honest with you, so I think we'll stick with that for the near future at least. As I mentioned in the open to the show, we've got a few things that we're going to share with you in the close. So here we are right now. I'm going to share with you what I had come in the last couple of weeks since the last episode. It's been a busy couple of weeks, I'll give you that. I've picked up a 2008 Fremantle Dockers away Daniel Gilmore. Some of you may not remember him, and don't really blame you, but he wasn't actually a bad left-footed player. So yeah, pretty happy to pick that one up. I also picked up my very first 2005 Fremantle Dockers jumper. I do have David Mundy's original warm-up top from 2005. However, this is my first actual playing jumper. And it's the away design, which is awesome. It's a tri-panel design with the green, the purple, and the red. And it's Heath Blacks. So I love that one. It looks absolutely mint. And if you want to have a look at it, it's on my page at AFL Guernsey Collection. Just to round out the Dockers jumpers that I picked up this week, I also picked up a 2000 Jess Sinclair signed and framed match-worn jumper. This one was actually from the Bill Walker room at Subiaco Oval. The gentleman who purchased it from the club, not exactly sure how he got hold of it, but it ended up in my hands for a ridiculous price of $65. So I picked up an absolute bargain there. It's a great-looking jumper, and it's going to go on my wall, and that one will actually stay framed, unlike very few others. As I mentioned in the show, I removed the Peter Bell 1999 match-worn jumper from its frame 2 days ago now. And yeah, I'm actually glad I did, because it's a gorgeous jumper. North Melbourne had some really beautiful jumpers in the Nike era, so especially the late 90s jumpers, they're absolutely gorgeous. And the material is beautiful. The number, the way they get that on there, it's not sublimated, but it's a real weird, thin, kind of a coarse, plasticky. Yeah, I can't really explain it. It's almost like paint. But yeah, it's gorgeous, and it certainly can't be replicated, I wouldn't believe. So yeah, absolutely beautiful jumpers they are. So I'm stoked to have that one out of the frame and hanging on the rack. You know, I keep mentioning I'm going to put up photos, and I keep forgetting to. So that's definitely going to happen. I'll actually do that tonight. I'm going to put up how I put up my collection in my room. I'm going to put up a few photos there so you can see that, because there's been a lot of talk on forums about how everyone stores their jumpers. So I'll put that up tonight so you can all see. I'll put up the photo that the damage that Milo did in episode number 4 with Emma, when she destroyed the little monkey and beads went all over the place. I'll put that photo up for you. And I'm sure there's a few other photos that I've got that I'm going to chuck up, which I mentioned that I will do. So I will do that for you tonight. Just going to cover some of the notable jumpers that I saw on some of the pages being sold. No particular order, but the first one I'll go with is a 2013 West Coast Eagles player issue, number 18. Now, I didn't actually bid on this, but kind of wish I did now, because it belonged to Brad Dalziel. May not be a name that jumps out to you. He actually started at the Brisbane Lions before he went to the West Coast Eagles, and I actually played cricket with Brad back in under 13s, and that was the Gosnells District Cricket Club, where we played in the Wacker competition together. He was actually a year younger than all of us, because he was that damn good. He was the opening batsman, and he was a chubby little kid. He was quite short and pretty chubby, but that kid could bat. So if he wasn't playing footy, which I didn't even know he played footy at the time, I just found out later when all my mates called me around and said, let's go watch Brad Dalziel's first footy game, and I was like, what the hell is this? And seen him running around in a Brisbane Lions jumper that night, and I had absolutely no idea he played football. So yeah, I have mentioned previously that I do have one of his Brisbane jumpers, so I'm kind of disappointed I didn't get this West Coast Eagles jumper now. And that went for $122. Also noticed a Stuart Cramery signed Essendon jumper. I haven't done enough research into it to tell you exactly what year it's from. Looks like a 2011 to me, but I could be wrong. And that went for $130 and actually had a photo of him holding the jumper, which is actually a really nice touch. So if you can get something like that, it's always a nice little touch. Another thing I noticed was the Collingwood jumpers from 2018. They keep popping up. And because they're being so flooded, I guess, all over eBay, they do tend to go very cheap. There was a Daniel Wells, number 3, 2018 player issue, and that went for $65. That's a crazy cheap price for something like that. That's a player issue that's a lot cheaper than you'd find in a retail price. That also leads into the grand final jumpers, which I noticed. There was 4 or 5 grand final jumpers that went up, and I don't think they went up very long. They were up for $150, but I believe they all went for $100 best offer, and all were accepted pretty quickly. So I never actually saw them go up. I only saw them because I went into the sold listings and saw them there. But there was, I think it was 4, and they all went for $100 each. So again, Collingwood jumpers just flooding the market so much that they're going so cheap. But it's great for a Collingwood collector, or just even a grand final collector. Like if I had noticed they were up, I would have definitely jumped on them myself. There was also a 2019 Dylan Shield Country Round jumper, which probably would have come from the Bombers shop. More than likely would have. And it was sold for $220, unless it was a best offer accepted. I can't tell, to be honest, exactly what price it went for, but it was up for $220, which isn't too bad for a quality player. Also up for $950 was Lance Franklin's 2014 Grand Final unworn and unsigned player issue jumper. Again, the best offer was accepted, so I'm not exactly sure how much it went for, but it wasn't up very long, so I would think it went for a very hefty price deal. And so, big difference between the Collingwood to the Sydney jumpers. When you've got Collingwood's 2018 losing grand final jumper, go for $100. I know it's Lance Franklin. He's a great player and obviously very valuable, very marketable. But starting price of $950, that more than likely went for not too much less than that. Huge difference. There was a match worn 2017 James Cousins, which is obviously the Hawthorn Hawks. It was the Indigenous design, and it was signed, and it's also his debut jumper. And it came with a COA, so have something like that from a guy's debut with a COA, also signed and match worn. For $150, I think is a pretty damn good pickup. He's not a bad little player either. And there's actually quite a few more, so we'll keep going with this. There was a 2007 Heritage Round Hawthorn Hawks player issue Buddy Franklin jumper. Unsigned as well, but it went for $152. And I believe it was a second time around. It didn't sell the first time, I believe. Which, $152 for a Buddy Franklin, after we just mentioned that his grand final one. Yes, grand final, granted. But just shows you how much the Hawthorn Hawks fans may not want or may not desire something from Buddy, even from his first season at the Hawks. And there's also one for the Carlton fans. Well, there's a couple actually for the Carlton fans. First one I'll mention is a quote match worn, therefore they don't actually know if it was match worn or not. They say it was 90s, and I'm pretty certain, looking at it right now, it's a 95, although no, I think I might be wrong there, but it's 90, around that area, 94, 95-ish. It was a Carlton number 7 An absolutely gorgeous looking jumper, and as you can tell from the stitched on CFC on the front, the logo, looks really, really cool. And it actually had the number 7 on it, on the back, but you can tell from the stitches that it actually started out as a number 38 originally. So they actually changed it to a number 7. Why? Maybe because they were too cheap and didn't want to buy any more. I don't know, to be honest with you, but yeah, it's very, very interesting. There was a few little interesting marks on it, saying that it possibly was used in multiple years as well. So there you go. It's a good looking jumper, but it also went for $698. So someone's picked up something they obviously really wanted there. There was also a 2018 fully signed Clash Western Bulldogs jumper, which belonged to Josh Shackey, a name that was thrown around as being quite the prospect at Brisbane. So he's hoping to continue that over at the Western Bulldogs. It's been a little bit of a slow start for him, but let's hope he can build into what he was billed at the Lions. Great looking jumper, and it went for $167.50. So it's another one I was considering purchasing, but didn't pull the trigger on. A few more. There was another Collingwood 2003 Player Issue Grand Final jumper, which belonged to Chris Tarrant. That went for $150. Another one I tried to bid on, but I missed the end of the auction. But oh well, so be it. Obviously, he played at Fremantle, so that was the reason I wanted it. Then something for the older fans as well. There was 1995 State of Origin jumper from the Allies. That was number 24. I did a little bit of research and I couldn't find who actually wore the number 24. I didn't really look all that hard, to be honest with you, but actually found that it's not even that easy to find who played on the squad. I could find who played the squad, but I couldn't find who wore what number. So couldn't tell you who actually wore the number 24. It went for $400. Which isn't too bad of a price, because something like that, it's a quality looking jumper and they do come up pretty rarely. So that was a good buy for whoever got that one. Now I've got just 2 more for you. One I actually mentioned in the last episode was the Charlie Curnow 2018 Indigenous jumper. Now it was a player issue only, and as you can see, if you looked at it, it was fully heat pressed, which, yeah, again, roll on 2020 with the Puma jumpers for Carlton. I think they're going to look fantastic. The actual design itself was actually gorgeous. It does look really, really good with the tree with the sea wrapped around it. I do like it, but I really don't like the heat press across the entire jumper, but it's still very collectible and still look pretty quality. And that ended up going for $365, so it didn't actually change from what I saw last week when I mentioned it on the last episode. Sorry, I mentioned I had 2 more. I actually have 2 more to go now. There was a Jason Dunstall, what looks like a 1998 jumper. And I was very keen to get this myself because obviously Dunstall was a quality player. However, I noticed that the numbers were very skinny. It was all sublimated, so it looked legit to me when I first looked at it. And I looked at quite a few photos and I could find the numbers were actually a lot fatter that were actually used throughout the season. So I don't know if it ended up being a prototype or something like that, or just a seconds of jumper, or just a mistake or something like that, and probably wasn't used because it still actually has tags on it, which makes me think that yes, it was either a prototype or something like that they didn't end up using. So Puma ended up selling it in their shop or maybe in the Hawk shop. So they ended up going for $161.50. The sizing of it, double extra large as well. It very possibly could have been made for Jason, but obviously would never have been worn with those numbers like that. So still a quality jumper, whoever picked that up, well done. And the last one I'll talk about is the Brisbane Lions 2006 Heritage Round jumper, which was Michael Voss's. And it is a great looking jumper. It originally went for $531. However, it obviously was not paid for, or the seller was doing a little bit of cheeky stuff where they actually bid on their own item to try and bid it up and get the most out of their money. Now, I've noticed that happens a lot where the seller will actually bid it up and try and make as much as they can. And if they end up winning it, they'll offer it to the second highest bidder as a second chance offer. And sometimes that may work. However, sometimes the second chance bidder will say, no, thank you, I'm not interested. Because you can tell sometimes, especially if they message you straight away and say, oh, they didn't pay. Oh, okay, well, you gave them, 5 minutes to pay for it. You can pretty much tell when they've done it, they're dodgy on you. So you're better off just holding fire and waiting till they relist it. It looks like that's what they've done on this case, because it is sold again this time for $360. So somebody's obviously saved themselves quite a bit of coin and still picked up one hell of a great jumper. $360 for a Michael Voss 2006 Brisbane Lion Heritage jumper. So really, really nice jumper, that one. So yeah, it's been a rather big week from what I can tell on eBay. I'm not even going to bother getting into anything I saw on Gumtree or Facebook Marketplace because there's just been so much going on eBay. So that's got me a bit flustered. So that's actually covered quite a bit more than I would have expected. So we'll leave it at that. There is actually one more on eBay. It's currently going right now. It's got 20 hours to go. So if you're listening to this, you might just catch it before the end. It was a 2006 grand final. It would have been one of the jumpers that were made for the frames when the team would have won, because it was a Sydney Swans jumper, and they obviously didn't win that year. So it looks like Puma have just grabbed them and sold them in their stores because they didn't want to destroy them and just waste all that money. The grand final logo is a legit grand final logo. Obviously no number on the back. Basically just a retail jumper with a ironed on logo. It is still really cool, and it's currently sitting at $78 with 20 hours to go. So if you're interested in something like that and you're interested in getting yourself a fairly cheap 2006 grand final logo, then maybe jump on that one. You never know. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to bring up was actually something that it has actually sold on eBay as well. However, it's a bit more of a in-depth conversation than just what I've seen on eBay. Last Thursday night, Jim Kids. If you're not aware of what Jim Kids is, it's a retail store. It's a sporting goods retail store, which they quite often have really good deals, really good cheap prices on retail wear, retail gear. Especially the last seasons and seasons before jumpers from each club. They'll often sell them off for $20 to $30, so really good cheap prices. However, Thursday the 25th of July, the Jim Kids Facebook page actually put up a post saying that they had, the next day only, in the Perth store only, they had West Coast Eagles player-issued jumpers that will be sold in their store, first come, first serve, no holds, personal shoppers only. And if you look at the post which they actually put up, they actually wrote West Coast Eagles players numbered home Guernsey. So everyone wasn't too sure exactly what they were going to get. They even put up the numbers of the jumpers that were going to be sold off. And they even wrote sizes limited to player size. Everything certainly did point to player issue jumpers. I didn't actually see that myself until the next day when one of my mates posted on his Facebook that he had picked up a haul of 6 of these player issue jumpers, and they were legit player issue West Coast Eagles ISC 2018 home and clash jumpers. I couldn't believe it, and a lot of people couldn't believe it. A lot of collectors couldn't believe it, and I'm sure a lot of collectors listening to this right now are stunned that it happened. I'm sure a lot of you have even seen it on the forums, and I got lucky enough that my mate Dylan, thank you very much Dylan again, was actually in the city at the time, and he ran over on his lunch break. And he picked up a couple that were left over. There weren't too many left at that time, so it opened at 9 o'clock, and by lunchtime, there was a very slim pickings left. He got me a home Jack Petrocelli, number 21, and he also got me a Clash number 41 Brennan Archie. So it was slim pickings by that time, but some of the numbers were there, like they had Andrew Gaff, they had Brad Shepherd, they had Chris Marston, Jack Redden, they even had Nick Natanui, they had Josh Kennedy, and they also had Jeremy McGovern jumpers. That's just to name a few. They had pretty much the entire squad there. So these jumpers were all absolutely mauled very quickly, and there weren't too many left over. Now, I know a lot of people who weren't there at the time or haven't had them in person, they're still skeptical on them, but I actually have 2 in my possession, and I can tell you that these are legit 110% proper player issue jumpers, and they are gorgeous. I do love ISC, and I've mentioned it multiple times, but they are absolutely beautiful. I believe even the West Coast Eagles have tried to come out and say they are fakes, but they're definitely not fake. From what I can tell, the ISC factory probably had a number left over that they made up for the West Coast who didn't actually take these jumpers, so they were all left spare at the end of the year. And whoever it is that does these deals with Jim Kids is a very smart man, because he seems to get these fantastic deals every now and then. I mentioned that I picked up 20 or so GWS jumpers a few years back. They're also a legitimate player issue. So whoever it is that keeps getting these great deals, please keep it up. Us collectors absolutely love to be able to pick up a deal like this every now and then. These jumpers that I'm talking about, the West Coast ones, went for $59.95 each, which is more than what they would normally sell these jumpers for, but they obviously knew what they had. And they probably had to pay a pretty penny for them. When I say that, they probably paid $30 a jumper or something like that. So they obviously knew what they had, and obviously to put up a Facebook post, they outlining exactly what they had. They knew what they were going to sell, so they're absolutely quality jumpers, and there was an absolute rush of a time. But what a time to be alive when that sort of thing happens. I know back in the day, West Coast used to put their jumpers out on the rack in the store, but very, very rarely does that ever happen in a lot of teams now. So sort of a bit of a throwback to the old days, the good old days, where people used to run in and grab these jumpers, and it was a free-for-all, but great time to be alive. And of course, as you find, people will get these deals and they will sell them on eBay, and I've got absolutely nothing against that whatsoever. If you're going to use it to purchase other jumpers, then absolutely I'm all for it. Go ahead, buy them at a great price, sell them on eBay. Even the jumpers that were sold on eBay after this sale, they weren't going for crazier prices or anything like that. People weren't putting them up for $300-$400 as a buy now or anything. People were putting them up at a pretty reasonable price and letting people bid from there. And a few did sell. Just go through a few that I did see on there that did sell. There was about 5 that I noticed that did sell from that sale. There was 2 Clash and 3 Homes. There was a Jack Redden Clash, which went for $100, which is pretty cheap. And there was also a Tom Cole Clash, went for $147. But even that's still a pretty damn good deal. Luke Partington Home went for $125. A Liam Duggan Home went for $186. And a Jamie Vardy went for $100 also a home. So these prices are actually really, really fair. And anyone who did pick one up still picked up a really good deal. I mean, obviously they did sell at the store for $60, but if you're still picking them up for a more than fair price, then I don't think you really have anything to complain about. I mean, if someone picked up a Dave Money jumper for $60 and then turned around and offered it to me for $100, I'm not going to say, nah, mate, you picked it up for $60, I don't want it. I'm absolutely going to buy it. So I have no problems at all with people doing that. Obviously, it's a bit different if they have no interest in the hobby at all, and they're just out to make a profit, but I can tell that most of these people, they're in for the hobby, they're in for the fun. If they're going to turn around and use it for other things in the hobby or the collection game, then I have no problems whatsoever. If I can sell 4 or 5 jumpers for $50 more than what I paid for them, to then go ahead and buy another jumper, which may have cost me all the profit that I made, then it's a win for me, and obviously it's a win for whoever it is that I'm buying it off too. So again, no issues whatsoever, and yes, they are all legitimate player issue West Coast Eagles 2018 jumpers. So I think a lot of people out there think that this would destroy the market, having these jumpers out there and flooding it. But there wasn't that many. There was only 1 per number for each design, the Home and Clash. So I really don't think that would make too much difference, to be honest with you, as far as the market value of any of these jumpers going around in future. So I couldn't see an issue with it at all. So if you're lucky enough to pick one up, let us know on the page and share which one you picked up. And I'm sure we'll all love to see it. So that's going to do it for episode 6 today. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Again, if you would like to be on the show, please let us know, and we'll see what we can do about getting you on for a future episode. I haven't got anyone lined up for episode 7, so if you'd like to be on, let me know as soon as possible, and then we'll see what we can do. I hope the collecting game is nice to you this week. I hope you pick up a big one. Hopefully there's a whale in there for you. Ta-ta for now, and good night.